Yeah.
Okay. Welcome, listeners, to my podcast. Today on my podcast, I have Shoba Rao, who has graciously accepted to share some stories about her talk that she recently gave. If audience has listened to the blog podcast, to the podcast last time from part one, you know what I'm talking about, and you know about Shoba. Shoba Rao is an established Toastmaster from District 101, and recently she has accomplished a milestone in her speaking journey, and she has given a TEDx talk to an audience of about 100 to 200 people in San Diego, and this happened in July of 2023. And today I'm going to talk to her about the idea that she shared on that stage. Welcome, Shoba.
Thank you, Priya.
I wanted to learn more about your idea that you shared on stage. So, can you tell the listeners what is the idea?
So the key idea that I shared was that people have to be their own advocates when it comes to health. So I want them to be a self-advocate while looking after themselves. So that was the key idea, self-advocacy in health.
Self advocacy for health.
Mhm.
How do you explain that to a layman? So, can you give us some idea of what do you mean by self advocacy for health?
Okay. Self-advocacy is as simple as asking yourself these questions, right? When you get diagnosed with a disease, for example, do you go that extra mile to understand your disease and truly work towards a cure or to recover from that? And do you go for second opinions to ensure that you're getting the right care? And let's say you're taking some medications. Do you look for drug interactions, ensure that it doesn't inadvertently harm you in some way or fashion? So it is, yes, we have wonderful set of doctors around us, but I think we as patients, we as just regular people, we have to be aware of our health and what we have to do about it. So if you don't advocate for your health, no one will. So that's the core idea.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, coming to your TEDx talk, I'm sure you must have shared some episodes from your book
Mhm,
as well as your personal life. So, do you
mhm.
want to share any such episode that you shared on the stage in the talk?
Yeah, so the whole, as we know, as Toastmasters, when you give any speech, if you have an anecdote or a story, a personal story, that's what enhances your speech. That's what connects you with the audience. So the TEDx talk was no different. I was recounting my story, my life story, and I feel that if I had not been advocating for myself, I may not be even alive today. Of course, other than a wonderful set of doctors and advancement in science thrown into the mix. So I shared my story, which encompasses my health journey so far, including my kidney transplant at the age of 22. And then further on, my recovery from 3 cancers. More than the recovery, how I found those cancers early enough because I was being diligent with follow up. And also the fact that I found out you have read my book. I know that you have read my book, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But the fact that I found out due to my research, because I took that extra step to understand why it was happening, I was able to pinpoint to a particular herb concoction I was taking for so many years, which was indeed the cause of my kidney failure and my cancers, right? So these were all the examples I gave to show how self-advocacy matters. And you might actually end up with difficult decisions. I went through a preventive surgery because of what I found, and that's not an easy decision to make. But again, once again, if you have to look after yourself, you have to take those decisions. So these were some of the stories that I shared from my life, which I've captured in my book, My Race Against Death, as well.
You have an intriguing title, My Race Against Death.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that you would have a better title when you write your next book?
No, actually, the very first title that came to my mind was this, My Race Against Death. I got lot of opinions and a lot of suggestions from various people in my family and my friends. They said, death sounds very somber and we don't really want it's negative.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to say my race for life or something
Mm-hmm.
like that? But then when you say my race for life, when I discussed with my publisher, if you say race for your life, you're looking into the future, kind of. Whereas if you say this, my race against death, it's something that you have overcome. So a
Mm-hmm.
book is like when you publish a book, there are different flavors that sells, right? This one is about overcoming adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, death captures people's attention more than life. And the reason why this title came to my mind, because I always used to tell whenever my cancers were found and I was, in a reflective mode, the one thing that it always occurred to me, I felt like it was indeed a race because I thought it's almost like a race between me and the cancers. Is it like, do they find me first or do I find them 1st?
Mm-hmm.
So whoever finds it sooner has a better chance. And if I can find the cancer sooner, then I'm one step ahead in the race. So I'm running, right? And if I don't find it, then the cancer is one step ahead. So
Mm.
in my brain, I always viewed it as a race. So that's how, as soon as the thought of a book came, I said, oh, it's my race against death.
That's a very deep explanation. And I totally understand that your title is very catchy and you have overcome some of the difficulties, and that is why you have named it as My Race Against Death.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes complete sense. What is it that you're working on currently? Are you still going to give another TEDx talk? Are you speaking on different?
I am still applying for some other TEDx talks because there's one more talk I badly want to give. Basically, when I say the reason why I want to give is spreading a message, right? The idea. That's all it is about. So as I told you, yes, self-advocacy helped me in finding that the herb was a cause of my kidney failure, but I want to take it even further where I give a talk just about herbal supplements and the toxicities that could affect us and how to be aware. It's the same thing, but in a different form, which focuses mainly on herbal medication. So yeah, I'm still applying for some other TEDx. This is a TED. See, even like when you get into a TED talk, it is not just about what your title is.
Mm.
It is about where you apply,
Mm.
like universities and what their theme is and what they are looking for that particular year.
Mm-hmm.
If you're applying for universities or even a community TED talk or like an independent TED talk, somebody is organizing it,
Mm-hmm.
anything. So, and it has to fit with their theme. And even within health, they will have so many other things. So they will say, oh, I want only 2, 3 speeches for health, but the rest should be, because it has to be diverse.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I said, I think I kind of got lucky for me to get immediately for the first one, the second one. So I'm still applying. And I'm also looking into other speaking opportunities where self-advocacy is my main theme. If you visit my website, you will see that. Some keynote speeches I'm working on. I have some keynote speeches ready, and I'm trying to become more professional with my speaking. And self-advocacy at work is another thing I'm talking about, where especially as women, we need to speak up at work, advocate for ourselves, and self-advocacy at as for health, as I said before, and then advocacy and communication. So Toastmaster, why that is very critical. That's another speech. I have advocacy and communication other than the regular Toastmaster public speaking skills.
That's great. You looks like you have your hands full on all the preparations that you have to do for your next speeches and ideas. I would like to know if you're going to write another book. I want to prompt your creative side of your brain and ask
Yeah.
you, will you be writing another?
I have two books in my mind. This first one is more like a memoir, but at the same time with the lessons, right?
Okay.
The second one, I want a cookbook
Okay.
because
I like.
I enjoy healthy cooking, and so I want a cookbook that covers very healthy cooking with all the nutrition associated with the superfoods and easy, something like that, because that's my passion as well. And there's one more book I'm aiming for, which actually I want to start a podcast. So I'm working full time. I'm not finding time to do that, but I want to do a podcast which would be cancer across cultures.
Oh, okay.
So once I do that, hopefully I can turn that into a book as well.
Oh, that's wonderful ideas. I think you are a storehouse of ideas. That's
I do have a lot of ideas swimming in my head. I just need to
I
have
like that.
time.
I like the cookbook as well, and I like the cancer across cultures as well. Those are very wonderful topics.
Just like my race against death, I already have that set in my brain. I've been saying this for a
Very
while.
good, very good. That what would be your takeaway for your from your book? So I assume that the audience in the TEDx talk should have come out with one single idea from your talk.
So that's the whole point, right? For the audience in TEDx, it's easy. The idea was self-advocacy for health.
Okay.
Very straight.
Okay.
Whereas from the book, there are a few key takeaways I want to share.
Okay.
Number one, yes, being your own advocate, self-advocacy. Number two, be empathetic, especially when you're talking to cancer patients, because people don't know how to respond. So I have actually one full chapter which talks about what you should not say to a cancer patient, how you should actually help them out, right? So it helps to be empathetic. And number three, which is the key takeaway from my book, which is right on the cover page as well, is I am not my disease. So I'm a lot more than that, and I want everybody to think like that. Regardless of how grave your disease is, or your disorder is, or your disability is, it should not be defined by that. In fact, I have come out with this book now, but as you know, I've been a Toastmaster for 12 years. People in my club know my health history in bits and pieces, but many people in Toastmasters don't know this side of me, which is a crucial side of me. That's because that's not my only identity, and I never wanted to just keep on talking only about that, right? So I think those are the three key takeaways I will.
Thank you for that. I'm trying to see if you can summarize your. I know that self-advocacy is your number one idea. Number two is being empathetic, and number three is I'm not the disease. What would you say to a person who is trying to express his opinions for his own health, but is not being able to do that. So he's overcome with emotions from family and from people around him that are telling him that you're not strong enough. So in your case, you are much younger, but if there are older people who are suffering, I think
I
they find
think that is, in fact, in my book, the very first lesson I share is to have a support system.
Mm.
And this goes back to exactly what you're saying, especially when people are older.
Mm.
You need to have a support system. And when you live, for example, if you're visiting a doctor, have somebody with you who will speak for you, because you will be ridden with emotions most often. You may not be able to. And somebody, if you cannot understand certain terms, have someone with you who can help you. Let's say you don't have anybody, then reach out to organizations that can help you. Reach out to Facebook groups. If you're tech savvy, go to Facebook groups where people will be ready to help you out, right? Having someone in your corner is my very first lesson I share in my book. In fact, I was giving a speech earlier this week, to an organization, where again, it was a keynote speech, a longer speech for like more to 30 to 40 minutes, where I spoke about self-advocacy for health. And I actually gave them a pamphlet with all the questions so that they can reflect on those questions. And in that, I do ask them, I refer to this, what you told just now, because the audience in that group were old enough. So I want them to think about having a support system first.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm glad I asked the question, and I'm hoping that you will share some of those questions for the transcript that we are trying to create from this.
Sure.
Blog. So that will help the audience and the readers to know more about what are the to-do list, like the best practices that they should do when you are confronted with a life-threatening disease. So that's wonderful. And thank you, Shoba, for your time. Do you have any words of advice, final words of advice or wisdom that you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, just one advice would be, if you have a core message, the way I am trying to spread what I think would benefit people, please step out of your comfort zone, go ahead and do whatever you can to spread it. That's it.
Even if it takes a lot of effort and energy, have the courage to go the last mile, go the extra mile and get it done.
Yes.
Thank you, Shoba. And I hope the listeners are inspired and refer to your book as well as your best practices questions when they are confronted with any situation in life where they have to advocate for themselves or for the loved one.
Okay.
Thank you, Shoba.
Thanks, Priya.
Thank you.
Bye.